Hello, my creative third grade artists, and welcome to our first lesson together in art. We are going to be creating this dynamic mixture of 2D and 3D art ocean scene. We're going to be creating a fun textured background with a landscape at the bottom and also an origami folded fish to go into your ocean scene. Let's get started by looking first at the materials you'll need to complete this project. In your packet that you received from school, you'll have a paper-clipped set of materials. You've got a piece of paper, some construction paper, but you've also got this thin piece of paper, and this is for your origami fish. This is actually origami paper. The things you'll need from home are blue marker, some aluminum foil, and also you can have a sponge with water, or if you have a spray bottle, you can also use with water as well. Either one is okay. So if you don't have a spray bottle, you can use a sponge in water. Let's get started with creating our background. Take your paper clip off and take out your white paper. Put these things off to the side. We will use them a little bit later. Then we are going to lay down a piece of aluminum foil. Doesn't matter what kind of foil you have, but this is going to create a slick surface that will help us transfer our marker onto our paper. Make sure that your aluminum foil is a little bit bigger than your piece of white background paper. Then, taking your markers, you can color onto your aluminum foil. It's okay if you color a little sloppy, but you want to go ahead and cover as much of it as you can. I'm going to use both a blue marker as well as a teal marker, blue-green. Get a good amount covered, but doesn't have to be perfect, like I said. Okay. Next, if you are using a spray bottle, what you can do is spritz your aluminum foil with water. If you are using a sponge with water, you're going to want to rub the water over your white paper. So I'll show you this method because spraying on the aluminum foil is pretty simple, but many of you may not have a spray bottle, so we're going to use a sponge to get the paper wet. This water will help us transfer the color from the aluminum foil onto our paper. Now I want to make sure there's no drips though. Don't get it too soaked. Then take the wet part of your paper and flip it over on top of your aluminum foil and rub the back. This is a form of printmaking. It's okay if you get marker on your hands. It can wash off with soap and water. That's the thing about this marker, is water makes this color come off, and the aluminum foil is going to make it not stick to the foil, but instead it's going to stick to the paper. Once you've rubbed the back, go ahead and pull off your paper, and you can dispose of your aluminum foil. And we're actually going to set our paper off to the side somewhere safe to dry for a bit. It's a little bit damp, so we want to let it dry before we do anything else with it. And in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and find our origami paper to create our fish. While our paper is setting off to dry, we are going to be making our origami fish. Let's start by taking our paper and folding it corner to corner in both directions. So that means folding it into a triangle, pressing down the edge, opening it back up, and folding it the other corner to corner. Pressing down that edge. This is a big part of origami, is making sure that edge is very crisp. So when I open it up, I should be able to see an X on my origami paper. Corner to corner. Now we're also going to do side to side. Side to side. Creating a plus mark. So you should have a plus and an X. Great. Now what you're going to do is you're going to fold this edge to meet up to the middle of your paper. Edge to the middle, not in half. We're folding it to the middle. We're going to do the same on this side as well. I always like to turn it so that I'm folding away from my body, which makes it easier to line it up directly in the middle. Great. So now I have it where the fold is right in the middle. Okay, boys and girls, the next thing that we are going to do is we are going to fold the top down into the middle and also the bottom into the middle. Make sure those edges are nice and crisp. If you don't have a fingernail, you can always take a pencil and press down those edges. Then, boys and girls, I'd like you to open it back up to how it was. The next part is a little bit tricky, so watch carefully. I'm going to take one of these corners and I want to fold it all the way open until I get a diagonal line here in the middle. So I'm going to be creating a diagonal line here along my paper and pressing it over until it's all the way open. This will make my paper stand up a bit. I'm going to do the same to the other side. Holding my finger along that folded part, I'm opening my paper up to create a diagonal. My paper will stand up a bit once I do this. Then, boys and girls, what I'm going to do is I'm going to press down the top of my paper. This will create two triangle folds, flaps off to the edge. So I had it open, then I just folded and pressed it down. Now I'm going to twist my paper and do the same exact thing to the other side. So let's watch how this is done one more time. See, this was that folded line that I created, and I'm going to open the paper up on a diagonal. Those dashed lines is where that fold is going to be. Let's do the other side. Origami has a lot of symmetry. Symmetry means the same on both sides. And then press that down. This is the shape that you should see now. Now, boys and girls, turn it so that the seam is facing away from you. The next thing that we are going to do is take these two flaps and open them up and press them down. Now that these are pressed down, the next step is I would like you to take a pencil or pen, and on these flaps down here, put a dot here, put a dot here, put a dot here, and put a dot here. We are going to be taking our dots and making them touch each other. So this dot will touch this dot, and this dot will touch this dot. Let me show you how that's done. I'm going to fold my paper over so that the dots touch each other. This dot will fold over to touch this one. Then I'll take this part and just flap it back so that it's out of the way for me to now do this side. Take this dot, fold it to meet this one, crease that edge, and then flip this tab back. So now you'll be able to see that my dots are touching each other and these flaps are pushed back. The last thing that we're going to do, boys and girls, is we are going to fold this flap back gently. Not all the way to the center, just a little bit, because this will become one of my fins. Take this flap and also fold it to create a fin. The reason I folded it gently is to create a bit of a gap here. If I were to fold it all the way, there would be no gap in between. I want there to be a gap between my back fin and my front fin. And if you fold it wrong, don't be afraid to just move it and adjust it by pressing down on the correct fold. Now that I have folded those flaps back, I can flip my fish over and see that it has back fins and a dorsal fin. I can also go ahead and take a marker or pen and create details for my fish, like an eye, maybe some gills, and of course scales if you'd like. Okay, boys and girls, we've now made our origami fish, and I think we're ready to bring our background paper back and begin adding lots of details, including our origami fish. For this step, you're gonna need the rest of those papers that I've given you, as well as some glue. You can use liquid glue or stick glue. And of course, you're gonna need some scissors to transform that paper into all kinds of different shapes. You can notice on my example, I even went so far as to transform my paper to become a little bit 3D. And I'd love to show you how that's done. First thing I'm going to start with though is the sand on the bottom of my ocean. To create that sandy texture, one of the ways I do this is by ripping my paper. Ripping paper creates a little bit of a fuzzy edge to it. This reminds me of the sand at the bottom of the ocean. I rip my fingers, the paper with my fingers, by moving them as well, creating those divots at the bottom of the ocean. I can go ahead and place it down on my paper, and I think I'll maybe put a rock over here too to cover up this hard edge. In your papers, you'll probably have another color that you can use for sand as well. If you'd like, you can use this for any type of part of your ocean you'd like. Creating other textures. Now, boys and girls, let's take a look at how we can create some of our ferns, or the seaweed at the bottom. Something that you can do is with your paper, we can transform it, creating strips. And there's a couple ways that you can create texture with your paper. One is that you can roll your paper to create curls. Another way is that you can fold it like an accordion or zigzag fold. Another way I like to do it is just to kind of crumple it up, scrunch it up to create all kinds of interesting, fun textures. So those are 3 different ways you can transform your paper. Once you have some of your papers transformed, the next thing is to add some glue and attach them to the bottom of our ocean. I find that the more layers of objects I have at the bottom of my ocean, the more exciting it looks. Don't forget to also glue down your origami fish. Remember, just a dot, not a lot. Okay, boys and girls, I will leave you to it to create your fun, mixed media work of art.